Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. A homeless boy saves a millionaire, and his life changes forever. In the cold, gray streets of New York, in the heart of a biting winter where the wind rushed through every alley, lived a boy named Ethan Johnson, barely 10 years old. He carried on his shoulders the weight of a life few children could imagine. He had never known the warmth of a stable home, nor the sweet comfort of a comfortable bed. His home was a torn old cardboard box tucked under a porch, between two cracked walls. At night, he shivered with cold, clutching his little brother, whose fragile breathing betrayed his failing health. The city, vast and indifferent, often seemed to swallow the weak without a glance. The frozen sidewalks were its only solid ground, and hurried passers-by sometimes gave it cruel looks, laden with judgment or ignorance. Yet, behind its tired eyes hid a flame, a glimmer of hope, and a rare kindness. Ethan had learned early on to survive on his own, to make do with what life offered him, or rather, what it denied him. Every morning, before the sun rose over Manhattan, he rummaged through trash cans, picking up leftovers discarded by restaurants or digging out a stale loaf of bread from a forgotten dumpster. What he found, he always shared with his little brother, Jacob, whose fragile health required constant attention. Despite the hunger and the cold, despite the constant fear of being hunted or caught, Ethan maintained a huge heart. He wasn't just a survivor, he was a source of support for those even more destitute. He shared his meager resources, a smile, a kind word, even in the worst of times. On a park bench, he comforted a lonely old woman. In a vent, he sheltered a small abandoned kitten. His dirty hands gently caressed what he could save around him. His kindness was not a sign of weakness, but the purest strength he possessed. One Tuesday afternoon, as the city buzzed with life, the incessant honking of horns, the mingling voices of passers-by, the frenetic rhythm of hurried footsteps on the sidewalks, an event would forever change the destiny of Ethan Johnson, and that of a powerful man. Alexander Whitman was, at 52, one of New York's most iconic figures. A feared businessman, renowned philanthropist, and owner of a prestigious chain of luxury hotels spanning the entire east coast of the United States, he embodied success in its purest form. Every decision he made resonated in the spheres of power, and his businesses flourished thanks to a subtle blend of relentless strategy and calculated charisma. But behind the perfectly tailored suit, carefully knotted tie, and controlled smile, hid a man shaped by a childhood marked by solitude and rigor. The only son of an absent father, himself a business magnate obsessed with profit, Alexander had grown up in a world where affection was rare, almost non-existent. Vulnerability, that state of mind often celebrated in other lives, had always seemed a luxury he could not afford. Meeting rooms had replaced private moments. Contracts, negotiations, business alliances, these had stood in for family. He knew the coldness of power and the weight of silence. That Tuesday, the sky was covered with heavy, low clouds, heralding an imminent snowfall. The pale light barely filtered through the immense windows of the 23rd floor of the glass skyscraper where Alexander had his office. Perched above the city, he seemed almost detached from the tumult, but his mind remained chained to responsibilities. He hurried out of his office, his eyes glued to his cell phone, where numbers, deadlines, and urgent messages scrolled by. A crucial meeting awaited him that day, a business deal that promised to seal the future of his hotel empire for decades to come. He quickly descended the lobby escalator and strode across the street, his mind immersed in strategies and calculations. His dark coat flapped in time with his strides, while the entire city seemed to race around him. Suddenly, around the corner, a yellow taxi appeared with a screech of tires, sliding dangerously on an invisible patch of ice hidden under a thin layer of slush. The body skidded uncontrollably, like a wounded wild animal at full speed. Time seemed to stand still, each second stretching unbearably slowly. Alexander, absorbed in his thoughts and the tumult of the city, suddenly raised his head. He saw the danger too late. His gaze met the taxi driver's, his eyes widening in surprise and fear. Paralyzed, unable to move, he felt panic invade him, icy and paralyzing. At the same time, not far away, Ethan Johnson walked briskly, his eyes sharp and alert. His senses honed by years of scrutinizing every detail of the street, he saw the scene unfold before him. His heart leaped in his chest, a mixture of fear and determination seizing him. Without thinking, as if driven by instinct, Ethan leaped forward. His legs, agile and quick despite his fatigue, propelled him toward Alexander. With a firm but swift hand, he grabbed the businessman's arm and yanked him back. The taxi passed only inches away, its bumper brushing the air where Alexander had been standing a moment before. A gasp, a shudder, ran through the crowd that had stopped, mouths agape. The muffled clatter of tires on ice slowly faded, giving way to an emotional silence. Danger had been narrowly averted. Around them, the crowd froze, transfixed by the extraordinary scene that had just unfolded before their eyes. The murmurs rose, repeated themselves, like a breath circulating in a respectful silence. A street child had just saved the life of a millionaire businessman. Some were already taking out their phones, capturing the moment, recording this unique moment when two worlds collided. The usual hubbub of the city had ceased, replaced by a palpable tension. All eyes focused on the small, frail boy, whose hand still firmly grasped Alexander's arm. His eyes, despite their fatigue, shone with a rare wisdom, forged by life's trials and the solitude of cold nights. Alexander, breathless, tried to fix that strange gaze, to understand this force coming from nowhere. His usually assured voice broke into a sincere whisper. "You just saved my life, my boy." Ethan was silent for a moment, his eyes filled with deep concern, almost surprised by the sudden attention he was receiving. Then, in a soft voice but with a gravity that was beyond his years, he asked, "Why were you there?" This question, simple in appearance, carried within it the weight of a broader questioning about meaning, chance, and destiny. Alexander gave a weak smile, still shaken by adrenaline and emotion. His throat tightened, and he answered in a trembling voice, "I don't know. I guess it was your destiny." For a few seconds, the tumult of the city seemed to recede, as if suspended in time. In that exchanged glance, two very different worlds intersected, blending fragility with power, poverty with wealth, solitude with influence. This unique moment, in the heart of the urban chaos, was the starting point of a story that would turn both of their lives upside down. This unlikely encounter was more than just a moment of chance, it marked the beginning of a profound transformation, both for Alexander Whitman and for Ethan Johnson. Moved by the boy's vulnerability and inner strength, Alexander quickly realized that a simple, "thank you," wouldn't suffice. In his eyes, he read a story of suffering, but also incredible resilience. He then decided not to let this moment fade away like so many other fleeting encounters in his life as a businessman. He invited Ethan to follow him to his luxurious penthouse, nestled atop a tower with panoramic views of Central Park and the city lights. To Ethan, who had only known cold, gray streets, this place was another world, warm, bright, silent, almost surreal. Alexander offered him a hot meal, a plate filled with simple but delicious dishes, which Ethan devoured with visible gratitude and emotion. Then came the new clothes, woolen sweaters, comfortable trousers, sturdy shoes, which replaced the dirty, worn rags. Alexander sensed, in the boy's shy smile, that this help was much more than a material necessity, it was a first step toward dignity. But Alexander's actions didn't stop there. Using all his influence, he launched a discreet investigation to find Ethan's family. After several days of searching, he discovered that the little boy had a younger brother, Jacob, living in even more precarious conditions in a foster home. Alexander took the necessary steps to reunite the two brothers and provide them with a safe, stable home where they could finally grow up in security. For Alexander, it was a turning point. This boy had awakened in him a desire for deeper commitment. He then founded the Foundation Whitman, an organization dedicated to helping homeless, abandoned, or disadvantaged children. This foundation didn't just distribute one-off aid, it invested in educational programs, psychological support, and, above all, in building lasting relationships. Alexander hired passionate educators, psychologists, and mentors, adults who, like him, believed in the power of second chances. And above all, he became involved himself. He was never again content to simply observe the world's suffering from afar. He participated in meetings, listened to children's stories, and took the time to understand the realities he had long ignored. For his part, Ethan slowly regained his confidence in life. Thanks to the foundation's support and the patience of his tutors, he returned to school, a new, strange, but hopeful place. The letters, numbers, and books gradually became keys opening the door to a future he hadn't even dared to imagine. He learned to read and write, but also to dream beyond the cold streets and incessant noise of Manhattan. He became involved in community activities, sharing his experience, courage, and determination with other children. Ethan became a role model, a voice of hope for those who had experienced what he had. His journey changed the way many saw it. A street boy could not only survive, but also rise up, inspire, and change the world around him. The years passed, taking with them the painful memories of the icy streets, but leaving intact Ethan Johnson an indomitable inner strength. He grew, his gaze became more sure, marked by a maturity forged by trials, and his smile, once shy and rare, blossomed into a sincere and hopeful expression. Every day, Ethan remembered what he had experienced, but also what life had given him most, a second chance. Rather than wallowing in anger or resentment, he decided to make his life a mission, a fight for those who, like him once, had no voice, no future. At 25, after years of hard work and sacrifice, Ethan was admitted to the prestigious Columbia Law School. His goal was clear: to become a lawyer specializing in the rights of children and the homeless, to defend forgotten causes, and to bring the voices of the most vulnerable to the courts. His studies were demanding, but he threw himself into them with unwavering determination, supported by the foundation that had seen him grow up and by Alexander Whitman, who became a mentor and father figure. His personal experiences gave him a unique strength during debates, internships, and pleadings. One winter evening, during a charity gala organized by the Foundation Whitman, the room shone under the majestic chandeliers of a prestigious hotel. Guests from all over the world had gathered to support the cause, including philanthropists, celebrities, and influential figures. Ethan took the stage, dressed in an elegant but simple suit, far from the usual extravagance. He took a deep breath, observing the gathered crowd, their attentive faces illuminated by the soft light. "I'm not a hero," he said softly, his voice resonating with emotion. "I was a boy lost on the streets, with no hope, no family, no future. But one man believed in me. And that belief, that act of trust, changed my life." He paused, letting his words travel through the room, capturing everyone's attention. If one little girl or boy on the streets can change the course of a life, then imagine what we can accomplish together. A vibrant silence preceded a heartfelt ovation, the applause bursting forth with force and warmth. Among the crowd, Alexander Whitman, sitting in the front row, smiled proudly, his eyes shining with emotion. For him, this moment symbolized much more than an individual success. It was living proof that hope, solidarity, and faith in others could change the world. This story, that of Ethan Johnson and of Alexander Whitman, is much more than a simple tale of chance or destiny. It is a powerful testimony to life itself, reminding us that sometimes, in the most unexpected places, a frozen street, a forgotten corner of the sidewalk, bonds stronger than gold, more solid than power, can be born. A small, homeless boy, with his calloused hands and immense heart, saved a millionaire from the indifferent crowd of a big city. But it was the two of them who were saved. For behind this act of bravery lay a profound truth: true wealth is not measured in bank accounts, properties, or securities. True wealth is solidarity which unites beings beyond differences. It is the trust that we grant to others, even in adversity, and it is above all the hope, this fragile and luminous invisible thread which guides the steps of those who have nothing, towards a better future. Ethan's journey from street child to advocate for the voiceless is proof that every life has infinite potential. Alexander's journey, from listening, understanding, and acting, shows that power, when used to serve others, can be a force for transformation. Together, they created more than a friendship, they built a bridge between two worlds, a bridge where human dignity becomes the only currency. And this story, in all its simplicity and grandeur, continues to resonate as a call to believe in the beauty of unlikely encounters, to trust in human kindness, and to never underestimate the power of a small gesture. because sometimes it is in the hands of a child that the world finds its brightest light.